everybody. Welcome back to the High Roller Sports Betting Podcast. And once again, you're here with Coach and T, and we are ready to break down all the Week 0 and Week 1 big games. Our next game on Thursday, September 1st, is Penn State at Purdue. That'll be on Fox at 8 o'clock Eastern Time that night. At time of recording, I want to say Penn State is a 3.5-point favorite, and the total line over/under number is at 54.5. What are your thoughts on this game?
To start out, these teams, although they are both in the Big Ten, they haven't played since 2019, where Penn State won at home convincingly 35-7. Purdue, they do bring back a decent amount of production from a year ago, especially offensively. Bring back almost 70% of their total yards of offense, where Penn State actually brings back 75% of their total yards of offense, which for those Power 5 and the elite Power 5 teams, 75% is a
good
lot.
number. Yeah, that's a
good
good number.
Lot. Usually those teams have a little bit more turnover than in some of the smaller teams, because obviously they got guys going to the NFL or different things like that.
Agreed.
For Penn State, Manny Diaz takes over as the defensive coordinator from Miami. So I envision the Penn State defense getting back to that kind of ton of pressure. If they follow the same kind of mold, trying to force a lot of turnovers, different things like that.
Hopefully they don't have a god-awful turnover chain, but that's a whole other story.
The Penn State does bring back their leading rusher.
Yep.
They bring back Clifford at quarterback.
Yep.
They did lose Dotson at wide receiver.
Yeah.
But apart from Dotson, I want to say, they return pretty much everybody else at wide out for them for this year. Defensively, they do lose a lot of star power. Lose some pass rush, lose an All-American in the secondary. But Penn State, I mean, and when you have these teams on a roll like they do, defensively, they'll just fill in the next guy, the next 4 or 5-star athlete, and be just fine.
Penn State will be just fine defensively, and you're absolutely right. Adding Manny Diaz, that'll give that defense an edge, I think, this year, and look for them to turn people over.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of the ball, the big one for Purdue, O'Connell's back at quarterback.
Yep.
I mean, they throw the ball a lot. He had 439 pass attempts a year ago, completed about 72% of his passes at 3,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, after starting only the last 9 games.
Yep.
They returned their leading rusher, who, although isn't a huge focal point of the offense, just to give that relief to the passing game isn't a bad thing. And he did average just under 4 yards a carry a year ago.
Yeah, he's solid back.
It's not great, but
he's solid.
Yeah. The problem with Purdue offensively, and this is one of the things I was looking at, especially against an elite defensive team like Penn State, is they lose their receivers.
Yeah.
They don't return a single wide receiver who had over 500 receiving yards in 2021. Yeah. And that's just so the new guys have to get that continuity with O'Connell, and we'll see how long that takes.
Yeah.
Because it is week 1 at the end of the day. The other part about Purdue is they have a suspect offensive line. Yeah. And when you're taking on a team like a Manny Diaz-led defense that's going to put pressure on the quarterback and try to force turnovers, if you don't have a solid O-line, there could be some issues there, I think.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. For me, how I look at it, and you brought up some great points, but for me, how I look at it, I really like the quarterback at Purdue, the O'Connell. Yeah. I want to say, the O'Connell kid. He is, I mean, he's not Drew Brees. Let's not overstate this at this point in time. But he's an excellent quarterback in that Purdue system. And I think in time, you're going to see him have some very good, if not great, if not spectacular games in the upcoming season. However, I just don't see it in this first game. When you're working behind a newer offensive line, facing a Penn State team that just athletically, what they're going to bring to the table, and what Manny Diaz is going to dial up to cause some pressure and try and confuse O'Connell. And they haven't got Manny Diaz defense really with Penn State on film yet, I think there's going to be enough unknown that Penn State can work with that they're going to cause some real problems that way. And when you're dealing with new receivers, sometimes your timing's off. When timing's off on a quarterback receiver combination, that can lead to tip balls in the secondary, overthrows, underthrows because, the wide receiver didn't break his route off at 3 yards. He broke it off at 6. There are just too many things that can go wrong, and especially in the first week. And I think that's where Penn State takes advantage of it. And even though they're at Purdue and they're going to be in front of a hostile crowd, that hostile crowd's only going to be there if Purdue's in the game. And I don't know that Purdue is going to be in the game by halftime. That's just kind of where I see this game going. And I like Purdue. I think Purdue is going to be an excellent second half team. Look for them when the offensive line starts to gel, when O'Connell builds that rapport with his wide receivers. They're going to be very good. I just don't see it right now. That's kind of my lean. 3.5. How I'm looking at it, I think it should be more. And this might be something that in the long haul, you might see this on one of our cards.
Okay. I personally made this game 3.5, right on where the sportsbook had it. Total opening at 57, down to 54.5. I don't really have any leans on that. More interested to see how this Penn State defense looks against a good offense in Purdue that can move the ball. Just to see for down the road if they're going to be able to compete with the Ohio States and a Michigan State or a Michigan in the Big Ten East there.
Yeah.
The spread, like I said, I've got it right on the numbers, so this is not a play for me either.
Yeah, you don't see the value in it, and one of the things you'll hear handicappers talk about is you can't handicap turnovers. For me, I think there are going to be some turnovers in this game. It wouldn't surprise me, and I think they're going to go Penn State's way. I think even though they're on the road, I think that's why you see it at 3.5. If this game was at Penn State, this would be a 10 or 11 point game, in my opinion. And I mean, we're going to disagree at different times.
It'd be over a touchdown.
Yeah, and if it was a whiteout, if it was a Penn State whiteout,
it'd be double digits.
Yeah, it'd be double digits for me. So that being said, all you folks out there know I'm a big Wisconsin fan, so it's hard for me to give all these props to other Big Ten schools, but I got a lot of respect for Coach Franklin, and I've got a lot of respect for what Manny Diaz can do with a defense. And don't bring that stupid turnover chain with you. Leave that bag. I hope you left that bag in Miami, and I hope that's passé. Move on.
Yeah.